There was a very real lingering sense that we would not come out alive. We sat in that room for about 10 hours, and there was a gunfight every couple of about 20, 30 minutes.
It's very difficult for veterans to relate to civilians or relate their stories to people who haven't experienced something at least similar.
They know me. They expect me to come out here, so they sort of, rely on me, I feel. So I bring them their lunch or dinner for the night.
Hello and welcome to University Beat. I'm Denise White. 2 months ago, terrorists attacked the American University of Afghanistan in Kabul. 12 people were killed, dozens were wounded, and dozens more were held hostage for almost 9 hours. One of the survivors, a professor, is a USF graduate, and he recently recalled that harrowing experience in a conversation with University Beat's Mark Schreiner.
On August 24, 2016, American University of Afghanistan professor Raj Chandrlapati had just started teaching his second class of the day when his life changed.
I saw a big explosion in the yard outside of Bayat building, and we immediately got up and got out of the room and went to the room on the farthest left of the second floor. And there was total chaos. We did not know what to do. We did not know if we could escape. Many of the boys especially jumped off the building and they broke their legs and they lay there until early in the morning when the medics picked them up. There was a very real lingering sense that we would not come out alive. One of the students at the beginning said, "Allah save us," and he did say that. And I prayed to God a few times silently, but we sat in that room for about 10 hours, and there was a gunfight every couple of about 20, 30 minutes. There would be some gunfighting, grenades, machine guns, etc. I did hear them take out students from one of the rooms and kill them right there, and there were other students that tried to escape, and they killed them too.
Compounding Chandrlapati's concerns was that his wife also taught at AUAF. While she quickly escaped, he did not know that.
I'm not a person with a good understanding of death. And I asked myself at 46, are you ready to die? And then I said, well, you don't have any choice. Have you lived your life as you wish you would have lived it? And I said, yes. Have you accomplished the things you needed to? Yes. But I was very torn apart because I couldn't tell my wife my thoughts at that moment.
Around 2:30 the next morning, Afghan special forces raided the building and killed the attackers. Chandrlapati and the students finally exited the room they had been trapped in.
There was blood everywhere. There was broken glass everywhere. There were people who died that they had carried off in the stretchers and so on.
Chandrlapati has remained close to his faculty advisor at USF, English professor Philip Scipiora, who waited for word about his friend.
Approximately 24 hours until I heard from him. I didn't know if he was alive or dead. And the longer it took for me to hear from him, I thought he might be dead. But he did contact me the next day. He was trapped in his classroom for a long, long time. He did contact me the next day. He both called me and emailed me telling me that he and his wife were safe, and he basically gave me a short synopsis of what had happened. But I was very much relieved at that because I knew that people had been killed, and fortunately he wasn't one of them.
During the 4 years Chandrlapati had worked at AUAF, there had been signs that such danger was possible, including the kidnapping of 2 professors 2 weeks before the August attack. However, even with the warnings, Chandrlapati still has harsh words for American university officials.
But I believe that the security was caught sleeping on this one. They were just not prepared to field a full-scale terrorist attack with 700 students at the mercy of the forces. And that shows a high degree of irresponsibility on the part of this administration.
While Chandrlapati suffered no physical injuries in the attack, the mental scars are harder to deal with.
I am going to teach the online classes for AUAF this term, but otherwise, I'm depressed. That's in a nutshell how I describe myself. I'm depressed. My parents are retired, and I live with them. And I have the temptation to quit teaching and work on writing for the rest of my life. There is some reevaluation of your position and what you're going to do in the future. See, when I was 31, teaching was everything. It was everything I had dreamed of. It's more important now, but I also want to do other things.
Yet Chandra Lapati still draws inspiration from his students at AUAF, young people who wanted to learn even while being pressured to follow the path of the Taliban.
I know that they had an impact on my life, and I know that I found that most of them were not fundamentalists. They're not freaks. They're not crazy. They have been stamped into that life because they don't feel that they have choices like the Americans have choices. Always appreciate the choices that you have.
For University Beats, I'm Mark Schreiner.
One of the election year traditions at USF is the straw poll of students, faculty, and staff. It was done last month. Democrat Hillary Clinton took 53% of the vote, compared with 25% for Republican Donald Trump. Libertarian Gary Johnson grabbed 9%, with 5% for Green Party candidate Jill Stein. 8% went to someone other than those four. Although Clinton won by a wide margin, the slightly lower participation compared with the 2012 straw poll may suggest somewhat less enthusiasm among those who voted. Those results were from a straw poll. Interesting, but the numbers don't count. But what about when the votes do count? We've reported on this program in the past about cybersecurity, usually in the context of someone illegally using the internet to access financial or medical records. But could similar attacks impact this year's presidential race? There are claims that Russia is behind email hacks involving the Clinton campaign and the Democratic National Committee, and there are fears that Russia may try to interfere with the actual voting. The Florida Center for Cybersecurity is housed at USF. We asked its director about the vulnerability of our election process.
We start out with the voting machines where we cast our ballots, for example. They are not connected to the internet. Many times, in many cases, we would circle or darken the ballot on a piece of paper, and then we'll scan it into a machine. That's all localized, and there is an audit trail, the paper audit trail that exists with the vote that was cast. And in many cases, or in almost all cases, there is a pre-audit before the machine is used to cast a vote, and a post-audit as well. So there are paper trails that are kept to make sure there's a good check and balance. So those are not connected to the internet, that they cannot be really tampered with. Then you've got your voter registration databases that are maintained at the state, county, local levels that contain information on the citizens who are registered to vote. And some of them are connected to the internet. Many of them are connected to the internet. It depends on what information is stored in there that could be tampered with. For example, there were a couple of states that said that their voter registration databases had been tampered with and they had stolen the information. But what can they really do with it? When you take a look at the public information that's available in the state of Florida, many of these voter information is available online. It might not provide you the social security number or a driver's license number, but it'll provide you the name, address, and location, etc. So that is not tampering with the votes that are cast, but there could be some activities that could take place to suppress voter registration, registered voters from going and casting their votes. That could possibly happen, but we don't know that. The intelligence agencies around the country have said that they are fairly certain that the hacks of any of the voter registration systems is emanating from Russia, that they are tampering with the systems. I cannot sit here and say that that is the case or that's not the case. They have more intelligence than we do.
What do we know about our presidential candidates or candidates for any office? The job of informing us, of separating fact from fiction, has traditionally fallen in large part to the media and its political reporters. Wayne Garcia teaches journalism at USF's Zimmerman School of Advertising and Mass Communications. He is a former reporter and political editor, and he joins us now on University Beat. Welcome, Mr. Garcia.
Hey, good to be here.
I think where I might want to begin about this is the question of whether or not the media is doing a good job.
Well, I don't think we've seen issues in a lot of the political journalism. Whether political journalists are to blame or candidates are to blame for that is always a really tough call of who sets that agenda. The candidates talk about what the candidates want to talk about. They're not largely out there on the issues because honestly, most of the voters say they want to hear the issues, but they really want to respond to negative attack ads. I mean, people have had that dichotomy for a long, long time. I don't like negative ads, and yet they work. But in this campaign particularly, I think the issues have gone away, and I think we have been overly preoccupied, both political journalists and as a society, with the trivia of the campaign. I do think it has been very difficult for political journalists to turn off the Twitter sphere and the noise and the goofiness of the campaign, the Ken Bones of the world, and really concentrate on things that I think would have made this a much more productive exercise for the American voters. However, they're to blame too. They're watching these cable networks. They're giving the ratings. They're tuning in and having page views. Now that we have metrics, we know what people want. And it's, unfortunately, often trivial stuff.
So does that diminish the role of political reporting?
Well, certainly. I think it's diminished because there's lots and lots of different voices now. We all have cell phones, we can take pictures, we can tweet out our opinion. We are also part of the process. In addition, now we have also advocacy sites that approximate journalism, the Breitbarts of the world or the Daily Koses of the world on the left. We have information that is not done from a journalistic standpoint, but from an advocacy standpoint. The fact that everyone can get any information they want, right or wrong, despite the fact checks. I can go out and find whatever I want to prove my case on the internet. And until we have a more media literate society, we're making very bad decisions about information we consume and about probably people we elect. One of the advantages that journalists bring, whether they're biased or not, or whether they have a point of view, is the fact that they go out and they have a system for finding factual information and at least some kind of ethical guideline. You may disagree with it, but they have a system for finding out facts. I think a lot of media bias is people trying to attack something that's literally a fact because there's no other way to attack it. And I think we as journalists have a lot to sort out after this on how we behave and what our role is going forward.
Wayne Garcia, thank you so much for joining us on University Beat.
Glad to be here.
We now know more about that huge student housing development underway on the Tampa campus. At an unveiling ceremony last month, USF officials said the project will be known as the Village. It'll replace the Andros housing complex with 5 residence halls named Beacon, Endeavor, Horizon, Pinnacle, and Summit. USF President Judy Genschaft said those names are significant to USF.
Next fall, students will live in buildings whose very names capture the sense of excitement, progress, and mission that propel us forward as a university.
Once completed, the buildings will house about 2,000 students and increase the number of beds on the Tampa campus to nearly 6,500. The project also will include a dining facility and fitness center, an outdoor pool, and retail space, including a Publix. The project is funded through a public-private partnership between USF and the developer Capstone Harrison Street. Board of Trustees Chairman Brian Lamb compared the project with the dorms he stayed in as a student back in the mid-90s.
In 1994, I came to the University of South Florida, and uniquely, this is almost ironic, I stayed in a place that was called the Village. Okay? Let me tell you, you don't want to know what the name of it was that we called it, all right? It was a lot different than what we're building here. This is special, this is monumental. In the state of Florida, there are 12 university systems, 12 universities. This is the largest project P3 housing project in the State University system history that's ever been built for housing. This is an outstanding milestone and testament and a commitment to our students.
2 of the 5 halls are scheduled to open next fall, with the remaining 3 opening in the fall of 2018. A USF student who's also an Army veteran has been named a 2016 Pat Tillman Scholar. Although the prestigious award and scholarship is worth $15,000, the recipient says it is about much more than money. Hedel Gandhi explains.
The Office for Veteran Success on the USF campus is a place where veterans and their families come for support, tutoring, and understanding from other veterans. Jeffrey Sargent is a volunteer here, and he knows how hard it can be to adjust to civilian life after the military, because after 13 years in the Army, he was struggling to fit in after his honorable discharge.
I immediately enrolled in school, but I was having issues. PTSD is a very controversial diagnosis. So I was having issues with PTSD type anxiety and all that type of thing, and those type of things.
Sargent served 2 tours of duty during Operation Iraqi Freedom. He became a squad leader and was awarded a Bronze Star Medal. But he also suffered many losses, battle stress, and post-traumatic stress disorder.
So coming from that to a less structured environment with people that are a fraction of my age was kind of difficult. But at the same time, it's all in how you perceive it and what your perspective is, and you can change it and help it fuel you to do better. Really, mine's been focused more around anxiety. So I've had really, really bad anxiety, and that's pretty much what it all started for me, was anxiety, which led to panic attacks, which led to medication, which led to, fear of just about everything.
But Sargent had the support of his family and other veterans at USF, and eventually he found a path that helped him move forward.
Fitness was huge. It was my outlet. Per se, rather than partaking in other things, is when I needed an outlet. That's when I got my outlet. It was running and working out hard. And education. I think probably the biggest thing is setting a goal, and within setting a goal is education to get me to that goal. And I knew that I really wanted to come back and work with veterans and try and help them through their issues.
Sargent plans a career as an occupational therapist, helping other veterans and military families to cope and succeed.
Starting off right out of the gate is I've been there, and I've done that, and I did it for a long time. So being able to relate with someone on that level, regardless of what the intent is going to be crucial. And that's just the starting point. And then once we dive deeper into the things that I've been through and the things that I've experienced, is similar things that they're going to be, or that they are experiencing now, or could be, or will face in the future.
Pat Tillman was a professional football player who left an athletic career worth millions to become an Army Ranger after 9/11. He was killed by friendly fire in 2004. One of his legacies, the Pat Tillman Award, recognizes veterans for their military service, leadership, and academic excellence. Sargent says the honor of receiving the Pat Tillman Award is about much more than scholarship money. It is a close-knit group of veterans who are giving back and supporting each other.
I mean, because we all respect each other. We've read each other's stories. We know what each and everybody's been through, so we respect that. But we also respect what everybody wants to try and accomplish in the name of Pat Tillman and in the name of his legacy.
Just absolutely understanding what the other veterans are going through. It's very difficult for veterans to relate to civilians or relate their stories to people who haven't experienced something at least similar. A lot of veterans who separate and really, really want to wash their hands of their time in the military. And that's completely understandable, and Jeff definitely understands that point of view. But I would say that they're as entitled to having someone understand them and what they've been through as anyone else. And Jeff definitely can do that.
Having someone that's been through it, that is a veteran, that can help, and it will kind of provide that hope for the veteran or the patient that needs it. So I think that's the biggest thing, is I've been there, I've done that. I'm a veteran too.
For University Beat, I'm Hedel Gandhi.
A couple of weeks ago on University Beat, we told you about this fall's musical production by the USF School of Theater and Dance. They're putting on Sweet Charity, And last week, the cast dropped by the Marshall Center to promote the show with what's known as a flash mob. It was an act of well-planned spontaneity.
Daddy started out in San Francisco, took his walkie-talkie to Rocky Ridge, blew his way to Canton, then to Scranton, till he landed under the Manhattan Bridge. Daddy was a new sensation, got into a congregation, built a fighting operation down below, with the Pider Piper flowing while the motel was flowing, all the cats were going down below. Daddy was a new sensation, congregation, built a fighting operation down below, with the Pied Piper flowing, while the muscatel was flowing, all the cats were going down below. Do we gotta do we gotta do we gotta do we do we gotta do we gotta do we gotta do we do we gotta do we gotta do we gotta do we do we gotta do we do we do we do do we gotta do we gotta do we gotta do we do we gotta do we gotta do we gotta do we do we gotta do we gotta do we gotta do we do we gotta do we do we do we do to feel the rhythm of life, to feel the powerful beats, to feel the tingle in your fingers, to feel the tingle in your doing 10 fly to daddy, take a dive and swing to daddy, hit the floor and crawl to your daddy, daddy we got the rhythm of life, of life, of life, of life, yeah, yeah.
One of the unique features of USF's Tampa campus is Castor Lake. It includes some shade trees, a few hammocks and chairs, and a sandy area known as Castor Beach. Castor Lake also includes a colony of ducks, and the ducks, it turns out, have a friend.
As soon as I leave roll call, my first stop is here unless I have a call. And I come here, and the minute I drive in this parking lot, the ducks start headed towards the car. And they usually meet me at my car and surround it. And they know I got to go to the trunk and get the food out. So they wait for me, and then we walk down to the pond and start the feeding procedure. I think they even recognize me because other officers have come with me and helped me too. And they know they don't carry the food you do, so they'll come to me. They know me. They expect me to come out here, so they sort of rely on me, I feel. So I bring them their lunch or dinner for the night. I've been with USF now for 3 years, and probably over 2 years I've been feeding the ducks. If I work, I come and feed the ducks. Every single day I work, they get fed. One, I love animals, so it started that way. But the ducks at USF, I started by, scraps, throwing scraps to them, and then I kept getting more ducks at a time, and I had to start buying bread, and I also found out that they eat dry dog food. But that's through experience with my kids too. We always fed the ducks. Around the holiday time, we'd go to my parents' house, who had a pond down the street from them, and we always brought scrap bread for them and would feed the ducks. So I knew they eat bread, so that's why I buy the bread. Well, it's not breaking me. I'm still eating my dinner, and my family's eating, so if it was a problem where I couldn't pay my bills or something, then yeah, you can call me crazy, but I'm doing fine, so and I think the animals should do fine too. There's 3 of them out here now that have issues with the wings. One has a broken wing, and I don't know, male, female, but it's very friendly and it always comes up, and I sort of look for it too to make sure it's still around. And then there's 2 other ones that they're just deformed, I think, their wings. And I've watched them since they were babies growing up, and now they're juvenile age and they still have that deformity. So yeah, you sort of get attached to those, or you sort of look out for the handicapped ones, I guess. I got turtles that feed, and the squirrels that come up, so there's all kinds of little animals out here. When I'm done, they know all the food in the bag is gone and it's over. So when I leave, no, they don't follow me. It's only, they come to greet me with the food, but once the food's over with, they're pretty much done with me, I guess.
The other officers on the force think what?
Well, we don't tell too many of them about it. I don't want to be labeled the duck lady, I'll be honest with you. So I'm sort of worried about that because cops can be crude, we make fun of everything, and that's just the nature of our job. You have to. But yeah, there's certain ones that know I do it, and like I said, they help out from time to time. And other ones, like my supervisors, they know I do it too, but they don't come out and help or anything, but they do know what's going on. But you got different types of people. Some are for it, like you said, some are against it, some will make fun of you, but it doesn't matter. You know, I do it for the fun of it.
If there's a story about USF you'd like to see us cover, or you want to share a comment about the show, you can reach us via the WUSF Public Media app. Just look for the Contact tab and write University Beat in the content line. You can also email us. The address is ubeat@wusf.org. Our website is universitybeattv.org. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can find us by searching University Beat TV. And that's University Beat for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Denise White.